Hello and welcome back. Another week, another episode of the Garden of Ethan. I welcome you back. I welcome you in. I hope you are having a fantastic day, week, month, just a good time overall. If not, I hope I can give you some respite from the stress. I feel like I want this podcast to just be like such a chill, fun time that we can all like. For me, it's like my time out of the week where I just get to sit, collect my thoughts, like talk about what I've been thinking recently. And then I hope for like other people, it's like that time where they can just sit, like listen to something. I wouldn't even, like if I'm background noise, fantastic. Like if I'm that for someone, that is so like exciting. You know what I mean? Just to like help you just like drown out and focus on something. Oh my god, that amazing. I do have a friend that has said he has popped me like the podcast on just to like not focus on it so he can focus on other things. I think that is absolutely hilarious. So yeah, hope I can do that for something. We're all having a good time. But we've got well, we kind of have, okay, so like first of all, I do this too much where I start 8 sentences at once, and someone commented on one of my, boyfriend material, book clubs, and they're like, you know you're excited when you start doing 8 things at once. I'm like, yes. And now I'm like, I realize that when I'm editing, but I never noticed in the moment. So I finally caught up with myself there. First of all, this is a shirt. It's hard to like see with these patterny ones, whether it's basically if there's a low cut, it's usually a shirt, because I feel like most like, clothes, like t-shirts, like are going around at the neck. But yeah, this is one of the ones where I don't wear it. It's, again, I love shirt talk. It feels like the thing that we have to do at the start of every podcast, which won't happen for long, not the podcast, shirt talk, because I'm running out. And the scary thing is, we're running out of short sleeve shirts at least. And since it is summer and it is boiling hot, well, on and off, but it is decently warm, plus my light, which I talk about all the time. But the long shirts are going to be rough, and it's already hell to film sometimes if this room gets so hot. So maybe we'll do like an open shirt, maybe a singlet. I'll try some different styles, and we'll go back to fashion later in this. Well, I'm not a fashion icon, but like I've got some like thoughts about clothing that I want to talk about later to get into it. But yes, shirts, maybe we'll see a bit of a different shirt style, because and some of my long sleeve ones are thick material, and that is not what summer needs. A summer in Australia does not need thick material. It needs thinness and it needs breathability, because bloody hell does it get hot here. Luckily I keep my like blinds closed, because like there's a window right over there, which is just like blocking any warmth. But me and my PC heat this room up enough for like, just about the temperature the sun would, like 60 billion degrees. So yeah, we do a good enough job. But most of my dot points today, well, that I have written down for myself that I will elaborate on, all surround me going out the other night and things from it that I literally wrote down about it, and it's kind of things I've been thinking of talking about for a while, but some of them like came up and I was like, okay, some of them were like direct from going out on that night. Okay, I'll just start. So the other night, it was my friend's birthday, like a couple of days before. She doesn't do much. She's claimed that she doesn't do much usually, and she's like, why don't we just go out? We'd seen each other the week before. It was when we watched Saltburn, which I think will be possibly in last week's episode. Sometimes when I filmed a couple of these, I don't know which is going to go out first, but we did talk about it in a recent one. And she was like, oh, I just, want to go out and do stuff. And I'm like, yes, cool, fun. And she suggested a gay club that I used to go to a lot more when I was a bit younger. Don't anymore, because I get sleepy at like 9 o'clock and I start yawning, and if I'm out past them, not at like a McDonald's, and I'm like have to like socialize or like dance, it kills me. But I was like, I'm gonna be a trooper. I don't go out that often. I can like, you know, I can do a night out. And it's also exciting because when you go out like a lot less, I feel like when you do go out, it's more of like a special thing and you're like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like, you know, I'm going to have a good night, which overall, very fun night, very enjoyable. But, you know, she's like, oh, we'll go out, we'll have a good time. I'm like, yeah, like, you know, a bunch of different friends, well, you know, her friends, but people I know from there. So it was just good to see. But she's like, oh, we're doing like pre's at, you know, my house. I'm like, fantastic. She lives near where I used to live, with where my parents do. And I was like, okay, great. So I was like, I did the thing where I was like, I'm going to drive to her house for pre's, and then I'm gonna not drink that much, and then I'll drive home later in the night because I want to be a responsible adult. Didn't happen because we safely drink and don't drive here because we're, you know, responsible adults, as I said. But so I drive all the way to her house. I'm like, cool. We're like getting ready. I'm in my socially awkward phase because, you know, when you get somewhere and you haven't seen like some people in a while, some people you don't know as well, like a couple of friends aren't there for like pre's, and you're just like, I am trying my best to present as a cool, normal person. And I always rock up. I feel like at any like pre-drinks, I just like, I gotta like get into a night. I've got to like be there and then work my way into, I feel like, my usual charming self. But I've got to like work up to it. So I get there, I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm just gonna kind of interact, but kind of sit back and listen because I am just so awkward. But we're having fun with, you know, I have a couple of drinks because I was like, you know, I can have two now, one at the club, and I'll be fine to drive later because I was assuming we were going to be out for a while. I was like, over that many hours, it's fine. Also, I just ate the most giant meal before I showed up. So I was like, I've got a good amount. I'm trying to look for a word, but I can't find it. But, you know, a good, like, plating? No, it's, oh, you know, it's never gonna come. But foundation, you know, when, like, you know, you gotta drink. If you want to avoid a hangover or feeling as worse, it's good to, like, have food. Drink plenty of water and have food in your stomach. But, like, I'm at her house, and this is a really weird thing to write down to talk about on the pod, but I find that I experience this a lot, and I don't know if it's a me thing or not. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna like pop to the bathroom before we leave because I'm drinking. Obviously I need to pee like 1,000 times a minute, but I was like, you know, gotta go before we have to take, you know, 20-minute, half an hour drive into like the inner city suburbs. So I like go, and then I like wash my hands, and I look around in the bathroom, and I'm looking around, I'm like, fuck, where are the hand towels? Now, I don't know if this is like a crazy me thing or anyone else experiences this, or I've just like grown up in a house that's like different. We always had hand towels. Like mum and dad, we always had hand towels in the bathroom. It's just a thing we had, you know, to dry your hands. I feel like I go to people's houses and I'll wash my hands, and then I'm like, okay, red alert. What the fuck do I dry my hands on? I don't want to, like, you'll look around and you'll see, like, two towels, and you're like, I don't know if they're people towels or hand towels, but they're full-length towels. I'm like, someone's rubbing their bloody naked body. I mean, at least it would be clean, you know what I mean? And I've just washed my hands. At least all interactions with said towel would be clean, but I'm just like, I feel like it's like a crossing the line if I'm, you know, rubbing my hands on the towel that they use on their body. I'm like, that feels like a step over that I shouldn't be doing. But also, I've got, you know, my hands are dripping wet. Tell me where to put, and I just like, I do the thing where I stand there for like 5 minutes, I'm just, no, that's obscene. Like, 30 seconds just going, shit. So I'll do okay, here's oh my God. I don't know if this is gross or not. It's not, okay, this isn't gross, but this is my go-to, because literally in the last, month, I feel like only one friend's house I've been to has had hand towels. This is out of 4 different, people's houses. One has had hand towels. And that was fantastic because I knew what to wipe my hands on. But, so I usually do the really rinse my hands at the sink. I try and get as much water off. I'll quickly brush my hands quickly on said towel that's there because there is no towel there. So I've got to use and then I do the rest on if I'm wearing black pants, which I usually am, I'll just wipe the rest on and hopefully quickly air dry them before I get back to the group. But I feel horrible because I'm I don't know if I'm crossing some sort of line, but there are no and it's one of those things where I'm overthinking it and I know I'm overthinking it, but what would you do in that? So, do you think hand towels are a normal thing to have? Is this a really boring topic? It happens too much to me that I can't not think about it. I need to. Maybe I should tweet about it. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's not like there's going to be much engagement, but, no, I mean, if I tweet, do people have hand towels in their bathroom? But it feels like it's something I need to know. So the rest of this night, it goes pretty swimmingly, but we go in, we get to the club, we get in, there's no one there. We decided to go in as the doors open because sometimes 1,000 people on the line, sometimes there's no one in the line. You never know what it's going to be, and I feel like you'd prefer to get there early, because you'd prefer to get in, right? We had tickets, but they're only for a certain amount of time. But you'd prefer to get in, and even if there's no one there, then you got a club to yourself, and it's so fun. And a couple of them were oh, there's no one here. I'm you wait, and we did. And once it got packed, I wished there was no one there again because it got so bloody hot that you're just I wish there was no one back here when it was nice and breezy, no one was around, and you could just dance no one's watching, because literally no one was watching, because no one was in the club. But, we're just having a good time. Everyone's having drinks because it's for a birthday. So we're having some drinks and they're oh, let's get some shots. And I was I'm still in my a bit sober, awkward phase, but I'm a Taylor Swift song came on, so I'm going, and I'm fuck it, let's do shots. I was let's live my my liver, is it liver? Liver is 18 again. I'm let's do a shot. I only did one shot, I'm not crazy. But, I had a couple more drinks as well, and I text my dad, I was hey, if you were able to pick me up later, would that be a problem? Because they live 5 minutes from my friend's house. I was do you think that would be all right? He's fine. I was yes, okay, we're having a good night. But have a couple of drinks. It's my, one night out every 6 months. So I was you know what? I'll enjoy myself. I'll have a good time. So we're dancing. The club's getting a bit busier, and people are in. It's getting a bit packed. We're having a good time. Just dancing. Troye Sivan kept coming on. It sounded like I was gonna say he walked in. He kept coming. His new album kept coming on. So we're just having a blast because his music is fantastic. If you haven't checked out his album, I think it is very good. Everyone's music taste is very different, but I think I would try it out. If you haven't, have a look at his new album. It was very fun, very just I don't know, gay and sexual, but also kind of deep in a way, and kind of there's a lot of thoughts around. I don't know. I think it was a very well done album. I think on the surface it is just fun and enjoyable, but you can definitely look deeper there, which I enjoy, that sort of thing. But my next dot point is coming up, and this is one that I was do I want to talk about this or not? Because I don't know how. Some things I just get so awkward about talking about, and I think in a way this podcast will make me better at it. It's just the feeling of coming off a certain way, and it's like, it's weird to me. You know, I've got a lot of like reservations in life, and I want to get better at that. Maybe that's my, as we talked about New Year's resolutions, it's not my resolution, but maybe that's what I should work on going through the weeks. Like, you know, when podcast comes up, you know, telling some more in-depth stories, some more personal stuff, really getting into it, you know, maybe talking about some mental health, talking about some like serious issues. But this wasn't a serious issue. It's just, you know, one of those things where I get like about talking about it. But, you know, it's a gay club. We're all having fun. A guy comes over and up to me. Now, how do I go about people at clubs? I never approach anyone at a club. I'm absolutely terrified. There is a lot of great looking men out there, but I am terrified. I do not have the cojones to go up to someone. And I know, like, I feel like there's the thought process of like, just take the shot, like it doesn't matter. My fear of rejection is so high. I just like, people like, go up to them, like, you know, say hi, like, see what's going on. I'm just like, no thanks. I'm fine just sitting over here, maybe exchanging a glance every now and then. That's good enough for me. That has fulfilled my soul for the week. I'm good. So I am so scared. So anyone that actually like has the balls to go up and like to another man, I shouldn't say have the balls, have the, you know, the chutzpah to like go up to anyone and just be like, go for a hit on, I applaud you, because I do not have it in me. You're fantastic. You know, if I'm doing it, I'm having a wing person do it because I need someone else to go help me with it. So if you've got the confidence for that, or even just like you throw like shit to the fan and you're like, I'm going for it, more power to you. But this person came up to me, and this I don't think has ever happened before at a club. You know, usually I just chill by myself and I vibe. I don't talk to anyone, like, but my friends. You know, no one talks to me. I have a great time. I go home, maybe like slightly regret it, but also, you know, it's a scary, the social dynamics of like in person. I don't know. I feel like everyone's a very desensitized in a way. Like, there are a lot of people in a similar boat where the thought of like that connection in real life is weird, and not weird, but like tough and very stressful. And I'm on that boat where going up to someone and having to like navigate that really like is a bit of a fear that maybe I should get better at. But, you know, online is such a great way to meet people. Definitely has worked for me. Hasn't at all. But, you know, I'm getting, you know, this is my steps for getting better at talking to people, because I get to talk to all of you and we have a great time. So maybe I'll be able to talk to people in person eventually. I don't know. Hot people also scare me. Is that not, do we not vibe that? Like, hot, you know those people that you see and you're just like, you're like, do you have a modeling contract? Like, what's, like, I don't know what's going on, but you, like, someone designed you well. I was like, what, were your parents both model? Like, what's going on? How did you mix to get those people? I just like, maybe I shouldn't put like them on such a pedestal, but I just, you know, half of them are probably like very, you know, I say half for everyone because there's always going to be good and bad people of every demographic. But I like look at them, I'm like, can't talk to you. You're hot. And I'm scared of you. But this person came up to me and they were really nice, really polite, and I was freaking the fuck out. But they came up to me and they were just like, hi. Like, they're also one of the reasons I didn't want to tell this story. It feels, in a way, and I think I need to get over it, like I'm bragging, but it's just something that it was interesting to me, and it was very nice, and I want to talk about it, but this isn't meant to come off bragging. I'm like, people are hitting on me all the time. It's so, you know, it's such a hard life being me. You know, everyone's coming up and talking to me. This never happens. This is like the first time at a club someone has come up and directly like somewhat hit on me, and I freaked the fuck out because I am a nervous person. But they came up to me and they're like, hi, like, I saw you and I thought you were very attractive. And I told my friends I have to go over it and tell him. And I was like, hey, first of all, I was like taken aback. I was slightly like passed out, like mentally just, oh, sorry, I really hit you there. Oh my God. Slightly like blacked out. I was like, what the hell's going, this doesn't happen to me ever. But I was like, thank you. Like, that's really sweet, really kind. And in my mind, things don't like, I've happened very differently than the way I expected. I was like, okay, he's done with his spiel. He's gonna leave now. He told me, it was really sweet. And then he's like, oh, like, what's your name? I was like, Ethan, hi, nice to meet you. He's like, oh, I'm this person, or like this name. I was like, oh, cool, like, nice to meet you. And this is where I feel like the story, and I don't think I did a bad thing, but this is why I wanted to talk about it. He's like, oh, can I like get your Instagram? And you know, sometimes you're just not as attracted to a person. It wasn't someone that I was like, you know, initially into. Also, I was slightly, you know, I was there for a birthday. I was there for friends. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing to say, you know, no to people. If, you know, people have sparks, that wasn't my type of person. And I was just like, I've never had to do this. I think this is why I am like weird about it in a way, because I feel like if you have like, you know, that really like good looking friend that, you know, gets all the people and like makes out at clubs a lot, or just like, you know, has a line of suitors all the time, that'd be normal talking about this. But for me, this was like a very like odd occurrence. Not odd occurrence, it just doesn't happen. So I was freaking out. And it's like, oh, you know, can I have your Instagram? I was like, oh, like, sorry. Like, no, I felt like I wanted to get out. Like, you know, I'm just like here with, I wanted to say more, but I couldn't because I was freaking out because I thought I was being such a bitch. I was just like, I sound like the worst person ever. I was like really beating myself up, and he's like, oh, that's fine. Like, have a good night. I was like, you have a great night too. And he just like walked off, and I'm just standing there. I'm like, also, none of my friends saw it happen. Maybe it didn't happen. Maybe I hallucinated the whole thing. But I'm just like, yo, like, I just got hit. They're like, we're just dancing to Troye Sivan. I'm like, did y'all not see what I experienced? And I'm just like, I kept seeing him for the rest of the night. I was just like standing, like I'd see him because like you can remember what they looked like. I'm just like, oh my God, he hates me. I was the rudest person ever. I'm so mean. Like, what have I done? Should I like? I just like beating myself up. I was like, how do people who get hit on all the time deal with this? This is too stressful. I felt like the worst person in the world. I was like telling my friends, they're like. It's fine. You know, that what person wasn't for you. It's fine to say no. You don't have to like, you know, socially like be like, yes, of course. But I was just like freaking out about it. I don't know why. And looking back on it, it's dumb. Like, he was very nice. We're both very polite. He shot his shot. I wasn't into it. And, you know, we went our separate ways. He probably has never thought about it again. But I was just like, honestly, is, you know, grade A confidence. Like, good on him. I wish I could like get some of that. Also, very nice. Thank you for thinking I was attractive. I was like, I'll take the compliment 100%, and I appreciate that. But you know, the rest of the night went well. I've got one more thing to talk over the night, but I'll wrap up the night. Basically, we danced for a while. It was like 12:30, you know, a.m. when we're like, oh, let's go home. We got an Uber back, and I was like, well, obviously I'm not going to drive. So I got Dad to pick me up, but I was like, fuck, I have like, because I wear contacts, if you don't know that. Also, part of the reason, if you notice me touch my eyes so much during different like reactions or stuff, if I'm ever like doing this, I'm a very fidgety person. I get like itchy a lot pretty easily. That's one of the reasons I fidget. B, when I touch my eyes, I'm usually like moving, or like my contacts will get dry, especially like staring at things under like light. So that's why I'm always like, you know, I'll be talking and I'll just do this. I don't know if I said that before, but just so I can let you in. That's, now you know when you're like, why is he touching his face so much? Half the reason is because of my contacts. It's usually like my eyes just feeling a little irritated, so I try and like fix it up so I'm not like blinking 10,000 times a minute. But like, I didn't bring glasses back because I planned to drive home that night, and I was like to Dad, I was like, I don't have any glasses, like sleeping with contacts is horrible. I don't have anywhere to put them, but I can't take them out because I have to drive home the next day. I was like, we are in a predicament. And I was like to him, okay, if you're getting up for work at like, because Dad gets up early for work, I'm like, oh, okay, if you're getting up to work to go to work at 6, do you think you can drop me at my car at like 5:30? I get home at 2, I'm like, I'm just gonna have a 3-hour power nap and then drive home. Worst, power naps suck. I woke up so tired. My eyes were in pain. Obviously, it was also to like sleep off and let some time pass. Sorry, I don't have alcohol in my system. I kind of had the worst sleep ever, but I woke up and I was like, okay, I feel obviously better. You know, I can safely drive home. And also, at that time, it's good because there's no people on the roads. Not because I'm drink driving. It's because I don't like driving in busyness. I just prefer get it out of the way early. Like I'll always go somewhere either late at night or early in the morning because I just hate traffic. It just drives me nuts. But I like get home and I'm like, oh my God, slept for like 5 hours. It was like midday and I was like, whoa, my housemate, I like went out of my room and he's like, you're alive. And I was like, man, I could use like 15 hours more sleep. It's because my 1 in 6 month night out. So I was absolutely wrecked. But very fun night overall. The only other thing I like was thinking about from that night, and I've been thinking about this recently, especially like with the podcast, with filming, and also just like going out in general. It's overthinking clothing. And I don't know if anyone else I'm sure other people do this and it's a thing that happens, but I overthink like what I wear so much, and I wonder if other people do it because I was telling a friend about this recently, and because you know sometimes when I want to record like, oh, you know, it's really hot, I'll have the fan going. I think about like wearing a singlet when I record, or like going to the gym, and I'm like, people with singlets, like they just exude such confidence. And then this is where I start, it's even like different items of clothing, tighter clothing, different colors, like everything that I wear, I think I usually overthink way too much. And it was just happening with, because I was thinking about singlets the other day. I was like, you know, what do singlets portray? Like, people at the gym wear them. Like, do I have, like, what it takes to wear a singlet? Like, obviously, they've got, you know, I compare a lot. And I think it's a really bad thing that I'm trying to work on. But I'm like, you know, if they've got good arms, like, they can wear a singlet. Like, that's what they're allowed. But also, does a singlet come off as something, like, overly sexualized? If I wear it while I'm recording, is that an option, like a thing that people will think, a choice that people think I've made to, like, sell or, like, go a certain way? And everything and I don't know, am I, like, a classic overthinker? Absolutely. And I was just like wondering, because when I was talking about this with my friend, I had already written it down to talk about on the podcast. But does anyone else do it as well? Because I feel like a lot of these choices like I make, even like when I like put on a shirt for the podcast, I'm like, how many buttons do I undo? Like, you know, sometimes it's just like letting a bit out, or like, you know, I'm like, I look like a waiter. Like, you know, there's certain choices I make, and I do the classic, I wonder, like, I'm like, oh, what are other people gonna, I feel like I need to start making decisions more for myself and not care what people think, because as an overthinker, when I see other people make choices, I think about their thought process, about why they thought to do certain things, and then I'm like, well, people are gonna do that with me, and I think I'm just nuts. If anyone has followed this conversation, like, can actually figure out what I'm trying to go for here, let me know your thoughts, or like, do you do this as well? But I'm just like, oh, you know, do certain clothes imply certain things? Do people think about, you know, like a lot what the implications of what you wear are, and like, are the points of like wearing certain things mean certain things? Or do you just go about your day and like put on what you want to wear because it's comfy, and like see other people and go, oh, they're just in those clothes and that's what they're wearing today? Maybe it's just, I know it's a thing that I do. I feel like, at least with my craziness, I am very like introspective. I know how strange some of my thinkings are, but it doesn't stop me thinking about these things. And I love, like, talking about it, because I think obviously the differences in people's mind are very interesting. The friend I was talking about, I know he's very like straight and narrow, everything's like black and white, and as such a different person to me, like we're good friends, and that is so fascinating. Like he'll just like everything I do, I overthink, and everything he does is just a decision that is made. He can just make a decision. And obviously there are benefits to both things. Like when I overthink something, all decisions take longer, but maybe an outcome might be better where he'll just make a decision and get it done fast, and it'll either have a good outcome or a bad outcome because he hasn't done the thinking about it. I think the way people think are so interesting. I mean, partly why I wanted to get into psychology when I was younger. Fun fact, I do this is really weird to say. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. That's a fun little thing to put out. I don't know if I've talked about that. If you want to hear more about what I did at university, let me know. It wouldn't take up that much time, and it's not the most interesting thing. But I do have a degree, so I have some thoughts going on up here, even if it doesn't seem like it most of the time. But yeah, the mind, like, to me, is just so interesting and so complex. And the way so many people are different and think different is just, like, insanely amazing. And I love, like, picking apart the way I think about things. That leads into, like, one of my other majors. Just, like, I did anthropology also at university. So, like, thinking about things, like, holistically and unbiasedly, and just been like, be like, why do I do this and these things, and just looking at it the way it is, and it's just so fun to me and interesting. So let me know how you go about like choosing clothes. Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say or not? Just let me know. I think it's a really interesting, fun topic, or like talking point. Or just let me know if I'm nuts. Either. The other last thing I wrote down is going to take us like a really small amount of time. But it's just the last thing that I put down because I love another thing I love about doing a podcast or doing this is I get to, talk to people and like interact. Obviously, that's like a great thing. But from people that don't live in my country and like are in different places in the world, which I think is so cool and so interesting. But I was watching a YouTube short and they were talking about, it was one of those things that are like, things that would send Gwyneth Paltrow over the edge. If you don't know, Gwyneth Paltrow only like, she has a very interesting diet and we're not here to talk about that. But it was just like, a pizza slice from Costco would probably kill her. And it was very funny. But they were talking about Costco, and if you don't, I'm assuming a lot of countries have Costco, but big wholesale, fun thing. I go to Costco. I love a Costco on, it's more like a once every couple of months sort of journey. But he's talking about the food at Costco, and he's like, oh, the food from the Costco Cafe. And I was like, cafe? Is that really? I was like, I assumed he was American. It's one of those things where most people you see are like, on like a YouTube stuff, you're like, most likely American. But I was like, is that really what Americans would classify like the Costco? Is that what it's called? And I don't know this. Is it the Costco Cafe? Because they sell like, pizza, hot dogs, burgers. I'm just like, because in my mind, and for everyone I've talked to, in my circles in Australia, I feel like we would reference Costco as, or like the food stuff at Costco is like a food court or somewhat of a canteen-esque type thing. And to hear it being called like they're like the cafe at Costco or Costco's like cafe area was so like strange and bizarre to me. I just want to put it out there. If you go to Costco, what would you, because restaurant would be crazy. If you call it a restaurant, I'm sorry, but I'm like, that's a bit, but like, what do you call the food area at Costco? Because I'd love to know. So cultural like differences and different things different countries call things is another thing that just fascinates me so much. I love I love talking about Australian things and like the differences in Australia. I feel like Australia is somewhat mysterious to a lot of like people, because I don't think it's the most talked about place. Like a lot of countries, a lot of countries aren't talked about. I feel like you have, Canada. In my mind, it's like Canada, America, the UK, like, big things of people know a lot about them. And then like Europe, people know a decent about. And then like Africa is always lumped in. And then you have like Asia, people know stuff about that. South America. And then there's like, I feel like Australia's slightly more under than a lot of places people know about. So I love talking about the differences and stuff. So let me know what you call the cafe at Costco. It's just one of those things I want to know, and I love learning from anyone that's willing to have a chat with me in the comments. Other than that, that's all that's this week. You got a real deep dive into how I go about a night out. And they only happen ever so often. So it's always good to get to like have a chat about it and talk about it, because I love being able to go and do things and experience just, normal life and get to talk about it, and we get to like chat about the ways things happen. I don't know. We're having I don't know where we are. It's just fun having a chat. I feel like I say this at the start of most videos. I just talk in circles half the time, but I'm hoping if you're sticking around to the end of this pod, you somewhat enjoyed the circle talk that I bring. Other than that, for now, I hope you've had a great day. I really hope you've enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one.